At Mar-a-Lago, former President Donald Trump delivered a statement that reverberated from Washington across the globe. The world watched as he addressed the press, his words carrying weight far beyond the ornate walls of his Florida estate. In a move that stunned both allies and adversaries, Trump announced a dramatic shift in U.S. foreign policy regarding South Asia. He declared that the United States would not intervene in the escalating conflict between Pakistan and Afghanistan. This announcement sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles, as the region has long relied on American involvement to maintain a fragile balance of power. For decades, U.S. policy in South Asia has been defined by active engagement, military aid, and behind-the-scenes negotiations. Now, with a single statement, Trump signaled the end of an era. Diplomats and analysts scrambled to assess the fallout, debating what this hands-off approach would mean for regional stability. The sudden withdrawal of American influence left many wondering if old rivalries would reignite or if new alliances would form in the vacuum. What truly shocked observers was Trump's effusive praise for Pakistan's leadership, even as its military launched operations across the Afghan border. His words were seen as an endorsement of Pakistan's actions, a move that many considered both bold and controversial. By openly endorsing Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir, Trump signaled a dramatic diplomatic pivot. This was not just a gesture of support, but a clear message to the world that the U.S. was choosing sides in a conflict that could reshape the region's future. For the people of Afghanistan, the announcement brought uncertainty and fear. Many wondered what would become of their country without American backing. Would Afghanistan be left to fend for itself, or would new powers step in to fill the void? The future of millions now hangs in the balance. Meanwhile, India and China, both major players in the region, are closely watching America's new posture. Will India seek to assert itself more forcefully, or will China move to expand its influence? The shifting dynamics could spark a new round of competition, with unpredictable consequences for the entire continent. Trump's hands-off approach, paired with vocal support for Pakistan, has created a power vacuum and a diplomatic puzzle. World leaders are now left to navigate a landscape where old certainties have vanished, and new risks are emerging by the day. The aftershocks of this declaration are only beginning to be felt. As the world watches, South Asia stands on the brink of a new and uncertain chapter, one that will test the resolve of nations and redefine the balance of power for years to come. The fragile peace along the Durand Line shattered in late February 2026 as months of tension erupted into open warfare. Pakistan accused the Afghan Taliban of harboring militants like the TTP, prompting a massive aerial campaign, Operation Ghazab-ul-Haq, targeting hideouts deep inside Afghanistan. Pakistani jets struck near Kabul and Kandahar, aiming to dismantle TTP and ISKP infrastructure. Islamabad declared open war, transforming a proxy conflict into direct confrontation. Both sides issued conflicting claims. Pakistan touted hundreds of Taliban casualties, while Kabul insisted it had repelled the attacks and inflicted losses on Pakistan. Competing narratives amplified by state and social media have created a polarized information environment. The true human cost remains obscured by propaganda and chaos. The region is now locked in a dangerous, escalating conflict. As Pakistani airstrikes dominated headlines, the world looked to the U.S., and Trump's response was anything but conventional. Asked about intervention, Trump instead praised Pakistan's leaders, calling them great and incredible. This was a striking endorsement of the very leadership directing military action against Afghanistan. The timing and tone marked a sharp turn from Trump's own past criticisms of Pakistan. His remarks signaled a realignment. Under his influence, Pakistan would be seen as a respected partner. Delivered at a moment of maximum tension, Trump's words effectively gave a green light to Pakistan's offensive. By framing non-intervention as confidence in Pakistan's leadership, Trump legitimized their actions and shifted the diplomatic calculus. This stands in stark contrast to Western calls for de-escalation. Trump's refusal to intervene is the clearest expression yet of his America First doctrine. This approach, which has defined much of his foreign policy, is rooted in the belief that the United States should prioritize its own interests above all else. For Trump and his supporters, the era of costly, overseas commitments is over. Instead, he argues that America must focus on rebuilding at home, strengthening its economy, and protecting its borders, rather than getting drawn into conflicts that don't serve immediate national interests. After 2 decades of costly war in Afghanistan, many Americans are wary of new entanglements. The memories of lives lost, billions spent, and uncertain outcomes have left a deep mark on the national psyche. Public opinion polls show a growing reluctance to support military interventions abroad, especially in regions where the benefits to U.S. security are unclear. The the fatigue from endless wars has become a powerful force, shaping both policy and politics in Washington. Trump's stance reflects a belief that U.S. resources shouldn't be spent on conflicts that don't directly threaten the homeland. He has repeatedly questioned why American taxpayers should foot the bill for wars that seem to have no end in sight. This skepticism extends to military aid, nation-building, and even alliances that require significant U.S. commitments. The message is clear. America's priorities must be recalibrated to reflect the needs and desires of its own citizens. With the U.S. withdrawal complete, Washington's focus has shifted from nation-building to counterterrorism. The new strategy emphasizes targeted operations, intelligence sharing, and partnerships that don't require a large American footprint on the ground. This pivot is designed to keep threats at bay, while avoiding the pitfalls of open-ended military occupations. It's a more surgical approach, relying on technology and alliances rather than boots on the ground. Trump's praise for Pakistan suggests confidence in Islamabad's ability to manage regional threats. By encouraging local powers to take the lead, the U.S. hopes to foster stability without direct intervention. This hands-off approach is not just about saving resources, it's also about trusting regional actors to handle their own security challenges and holding them accountable for the outcomes. This hands-off approach resonates with voters tired of endless wars and allows Trump to frame non-intervention as both strategic and fiscally responsible. For many Americans, the promise of fewer foreign entanglements is appealing, especially when domestic issues like healthcare, jobs, and infrastructure demand urgent attention. Trump's rhetoric taps into this sentiment, positioning himself as a leader who listens to the will of the people and puts America's needs first. America's new posture redefines leadership, not as intervention, but as letting regional powers manage their own affairs. By stepping back, Washington is signaling a willingness to let others take responsibility for their neighborhoods. This shift challenges traditional notions of American global leadership, but it also opens the door for new alliances and regional solutions to long-standing problems. The U.S. is signaling it will choose its battles more carefully. Rather than reacting to every crisis, Washington is now weighing the costs and benefits of involvement with greater scrutiny. This more selective approach is intended to preserve American strength for when it truly matters, and to avoid the mistakes of the past. This marks a fundamental shift in how America engages with the world. The era of automatic intervention is giving way to a new chapter, one defined by restraint, calculation, and a renewed focus on national priorities. As Washington watches from the sidelines, the world is left to adjust to a very different kind of American leadership. Trump's endorsement of Pakistan's leadership is more than just political rhetoric. It signals a significant diplomatic shift with far-reaching consequences for South Asia and beyond. When a former U.S. president publicly praises a country's leadership, it sends a message not only to that nation, but also to its neighbors and rivals, reshaping perceptions and alliances on the global stage. For Pakistan, this is a strategic victory. Trump's words grant a sense of international legitimacy to its military and political actions, especially at a time when Islamabad seeks to strengthen its global standing. The endorsement could be used by Pakistani leaders to bolster their domestic image and justify their policies to the public and the world. With this newfound support, Islamabad may feel emboldened to pursue its regional objectives more assertively, whether in security matters, diplomatic negotiations, or even in its approach to neighboring countries. The backing of a major power like the U.S. can shift the calculus for decision-makers in Pakistan. For Afghanistan's Taliban, however, Trump's remarks deepen their sense of isolation. The Taliban, already struggling for international recognition, now face a U.S. narrative that strengthens their adversaries and weakens their own negotiating position in peace talks and regional diplomacy. India, Pakistan's long-standing rival, views Trump's praise with deep concern. For years, New Delhi has worked to diplomatically isolate Islamabad, especially on issues of security and cross-border tensions. Trump's comments threaten to undermine these efforts, raising alarm among Indian policymakers and the public alike. The U.S. tilt toward Pakistan complicates the strategic partnership between Washington and New Delhi, which has been carefully cultivated as a counterbalance to China's growing influence in the region. This shift could force India to rethink its diplomatic strategies and alliances. China, Pakistan's closest ally, may initially welcome the shift, seeing it as validation of its own support for Islamabad. However, Beijing could also view increased U.S. involvement as a challenge to its influence in Pakistan and the broader region, prompting a recalibration of its own policies. Trump's stance injects new complexity into the ongoing U.S.-China rivalry, with Pakistan emerging as a pivotal arena where both superpowers may compete for influence, resources, and strategic advantage. As a result, the region's balance of power is now in flux, with every major player reassessing its position and strategy in response to this unexpected diplomatic development. The Pakistan-Afghanistan war and Trump's remarks have triggered a spectrum of global reactions. The Taliban condemned Pakistani strikes as aggression, using state media to rally support and project resilience. In Pakistan, the government framed its actions as self-defense, with Trump's praise celebrated in the media. Yet concerns linger about a prolonged conflict and economic strain. In the U.S., Republicans back Trump's non-intervention, while Democrats warn of a dangerous power vacuum. The Biden administration urges restraint, balancing support for Pakistan with calls for de-escalation. NATO allies and regional powers like China and Iran call for a ceasefire or offer mediation. India remains officially silent but is watching closely, wary of the U.S. tilt toward Pakistan. The world is left uncertain, facing a regional war without clear American leadership. The Pakistan-Afghanistan conflict risks spiraling into a wider, more destructive war. If initial objectives aren't met, Pakistan may escalate. The Taliban could respond with more aggressive attacks. Both sides have histories of using proxies, threatening perpetual instability and immense civilian suffering. The conflict creates a security vacuum, ripe for exploitation by groups like ISKP and Al-Qaeda. An unstable Afghanistan could again become a global terrorism hub. Escalation threatens trade, could spark a refugee crisis, and risks drawing in other powers. One miscalculation could ignite a broader regional or even global crisis. America's move toward non-intervention signals a transformation in its global role. Allies may now question U.S. security guarantees, potentially seeking new alliances or building their own capabilities. Instability in South Asia could disrupt trade and rattle global markets, with investors seeking safer havens. America's retreat creates openings for China and Russia to expand influence, especially in South Asia. China could step in as mediator, while Russia may strengthen ties in Central Asia. The traditional model of U.S. interventionism is being replaced by a more transactional, isolationist approach. This shift could usher in a multipolar world, with heightened competition and regional instability. The Pakistan-Afghanistan war and America's response have redrawn South Asia's strategic map. Pakistan's assertiveness and the Taliban's struggle for survival mark a new era. Trump's non-intervention has empowered Pakistan, isolated the Taliban, and signaled the end of America as the region's security guarantor. India and China must now recalibrate their strategies in a region without predictable U.S. involvement. The risks are immense. Escalation could spark humanitarian disaster and global terrorism. Without a neutral mediator, the chance of miscalculation and prolonged conflict rises. The world watches as South Asia's future is rewritten, no longer by Washington, but by local powers. America's decision to watch from the sidelines is itself a powerful move, setting in motion unpredictable consequences.